Hello, my name's Helen Lentell. I'm the Fellow in Distance Learning at the University of Leicester in the United Kingdom. I'm here in Vancouver at the Commonwealth of Learning, working with Col on a project to do with leadership and management in distance learning. And today I'm joined by Angela Kwan, who's the Manager of Learning International Organisations. Angela, what does your job as Manager of Learning Organisations actually involve?
Yes, Helen, I'll start by describing the Call eLearning for International Organizations initiative, in short, Call eLEO, to be followed by a brief description of my work as Learning Manager. The Call eLEO initiative was established in 2006 when Call was planning for the 06 to 09 three-year plan. The idea was to establish eLEO as a special initiative to respond to the growing needs of international organizations in democratizing and expanding human capacity development. Another thought was also to walk the talk of open distance learning best practice by actually involving in course production and presentation. The timing was about right because in 2006, Call had experienced some successes working with a number of international organizations in customizing e-learning solutions for their global workforce. Call asked the team of 3 staff, the learning manager, the course coordinator, and the program assistant, to focus in expanding this initiative. The Call Board of Governors supported the idea, but added that the services should be fee-based, and over time, the initiative should try to break even. Call eLEO focuses on 2 activities. One is materials development, and second is course delivery. For materials development, our niche is in customization, competency-based learning, and standalone short courses. For course delivery, we put a lot of emphasis on one-on-one tutoring support and monitoring and evaluation of outputs and outcomes. So as Call Learning Manager, my role is to plan, lead, and manage the growth of this initiative through providing quality e-learning services.
What would you say are the most important components of your job?
There are 3 components. First is learner support, second is logistics, and third is customized materials.
Can I ask you a bit more about the components of your job? You mentioned learner support. What does that involve?
It involves building strong admin and tutoring teams to help learners to succeed in learning. Who are our learners? They are adult learners spread all over the world. It is quite awesome to think about, like 85% are from all over the world, and about 15% of them are from Commonwealth countries. They are all seeking just-in-time professional development to enhance their work performance. For example, in the drafting of reports or general correspondence, the collection and presentation of quality data, and the reporting and management of national debts through a sophisticated database. Our learners are spread out in both cities and remote, isolated country offices. To give you some example, like students working from Ulaanbaatar, Mussoorie, Yerevan, and Luanda, just to name a few. Some of them are operating in the world hotspots, like Bamako and Darfur. So our learners represent a diverse range of culture, language, social, and educational background. The eLEO team of administrators and tutors must be able to embrace diversity and at the same time is sensitive to each learner's individual needs for learning. Our tutor recruitment and retention policies require individuals who are not only subject expert, but are also advocates for adult learners and open and distance learning. They need to be able to empathize with their faceless learners and act as a guide on the side rather than as a sage on the stage in accompanying learners through their learning journeys. Another task I ask tutors to do is to customize their support according to the capacity and the learning style of each learner. For the strong learners, tutors are encouraged to push the limits and raise the performance bar to expand learners' aptitude. And for the weaker learners, it is perfectly fine for them to lower the bar according to a marking guide to make it more achievable for them in order to increase learners' self-confidence. The result is that our tutors are constantly raved by our learners, and they describe the tutors as dependable, professional, caring, and supportive. We often hear learners mention that they struggled in balancing work, family, and study. But in the end, they persevere because of the tutors' encouragement. While tutors are backstopping their learners, the core YILIO team is backstopping them. The tutors are encouraged to get in touch with us if they find their emails in nagging and cajoling learners have gone into a black hole. Often we joke that we are the bad cops in reminding the learners the consequences of non-completion. When learners realize that they are being watched closely, many of them return to the course and achieve amazing results.
You also mentioned logistics. What does that entail?
My team really is great with logistics, which entails pre-course preparation, course implementation activities, and course end processes. I started a long checklist many years ago, and my course coordinators and program assistants have improved on the list over time as they understood the operations a lot better. The checklist details the required action with timeline and responsible parties, and is synced with the Outlook and the Moodle calendar tools to ensure that no operational details will be missed or delayed that may impact on the tutors, learners, and the course progress. Checklist is a powerful tool that has been used for a long time in the aviation industry. Pilots' adoption of the checklist has improved on safety. Atul Gawande, a Harvard medical professor, in his book Checklist Manifesto, shared how the simple tool helped to get things right in the hospital operations theater. For YILIO, we simply cannot start a cohort without preparing a checklist first.
The third component that you mentioned was the customization of materials. Can you say a bit more about that?
Yes, Helen. Last but not the least is materials customization. The YILIO course development approach is the ADDIE approach. You may have heard of it before. ADDIE, which is assess, design, develop, implement, and evaluate. We describe our self-instructional materials as tutorials in text that talk to the learners, engage them in self-reflection, and interact with them in practice and activities and assignments. The highly customized materials create a seamless flow where learners use workplace documents, work-related documents for assignments. After the assignments are marked and reviewed, they can be put back into the work context very easily. The learners appreciate the practical nature of the YILIO courses. I think our customized approach, although effort and time consuming, is done right. When a couple of learners told us in unprompted comments that the YILIO course is one of the best that they have ever experienced in their entire career, or one of the best in their workplace e-learning experience.
Distance learning often involves working with partners, and indeed you work with partners. How do you work with them?
I would work with my partners in a collaborative way. It is very important for me to listen to partners' needs and understand what they want. I also try to help partners understand what we do and what we don't do, how we do e-learning, and why we do it the way they are being done. With course customization, it is not good enough to show new partners what we have done in the past, because they are asking for a course that has never been created before. It is more important to help them to appreciate our inputs, our processes, which will lead to the desired outputs and outcomes.
It's not easy working with partners. What tensions arise in your work?
Helen, I won't say that there is a lot of tension with partners, because in my experience is that everything can be discussed and negotiated to find win-win solutions. But there are difficulties that I have encountered. I would highlight three. First is the lack of details for the customization request. Often I was asked to provide a cost estimate without the specifications, and to price without knowing how long is a piece of string is very hard. The second is the lack of appreciation of the processes involved in open distance learning. The third difficulty, I would say, is requesting major changes to materials developed at a very late stage. And I would compare it to asking for buildings to be changed when it's already built. And it's a very costly and difficult decision.
Angela, how would you describe your work as a manager of a distance learning provision? For example, working with your authors, your tutors and support staff.
Helen, if I may answer in two words. Simply put, collegiality and teamwork.
What are the most important lessons that you've learned about managing distance learning that you would want to pass on to a manager who was just entering into distance learning provision?
Yes, Helen, there are two things. First is to adhere to open distance learning best practice. The second thing is to select the appropriate technology to enable learning. I would say adhering to ODL best practice is the constant, while technology is the variable. The best result occurs when we manage to master both the constant and the variable, which is like the yin and yang in a dynamic system. As with everything in life, in order to excel in anything, one needs to be able to master at least two of the polarities. And I would say the polarities in open distance learning is the ODL best practice, which is the constant, and technology, which is the variable. Indeed, it is very easy for course content and the practicalities of supporting e-learning to get lost in the shuffle to upgrade to e-courses, to the newest and most popular mode of technology. But we need to be able to stay true to balancing the constant and the variable.
Thank you very much, Angela. That was incredibly interesting. I'm sure that the audience for this video will learn a lot from your knowledge and your experience. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Helen. My pleasure indeed.